Welcome to Conversations at the Crossroads, the podcast where spirituality meets the beautifully messy human experience. My name is Jenny. I am a hairstylist, a witch, a mentor, tarot reader, many other things, but I'm also the voice behind Conversations at the Crossroads. Each week, we gather here to explore spirituality, personal growth, and tools to help navigate the ever-evolving human journey. Some conversations we will deep dive into the mystical, others the practical, and sometimes we'll sit together through the hard stuff. Along the way, we may explore ideas that challenge us, stories that shift our perspective, or practices that help us walk our path with a little bit more intention. So wherever you're listening from, take a deep breath, settle in, and join me at the crossroads. Hi there, this is Jenny from the future. I just wanted to add that there's a lot of mention of imagery in some of the conversation, and included in the YouTube video there are examples, and I put up kind of some pictures along with the conversation. So if anybody who's listening just to the audio would like to go and see some of the characters and imagery and artwork that we're talking about, go check YouTube and see all the imagery that we're talking about. Okay, enjoy the episode. Bye! Today, I have a guest joining me at the crossroads. Her name is J.D. Marcella, and that may sound familiar because I mentioned her last week when I was talking about a dynamic character that had me really inspired to talk about girl power from the epic fantasy series, The Queen of Light and Shadow. I am still reading The Fallen Queen, but Embers of Rebellion is out now as well, and I'm so excited to get to that point. I cannot wait to get off of here and snuggle with my Kindle and continue to read. But I'm also really honored to have J.D. Marcella here to speak with us today. She, like many of us, has experienced a precipice moment in life. She has been writing her whole life, scribbling in notebooks and writing her stories. But with the passing of her father, it brought some things into perspective, and she began to decide to tell her stories, both for him, for herself, and for her healing journey. And I think that's something that really shapes her work, and that you can feel that she understands what it is that she's writing. So I'm very honored to have her here to talk about her story, to talk about her process, and just give us some insight. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for being here. I already kind of pre-filmed a little introduction, but I was reading your website and kind of looking up some stuff, and I saw in your About section that you've been writing since you were a teenager, but it was after the passing of your father that you really decided to pursue actually writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I definitely like a little nerdy kid who was just writing all the time, and he was very supportive of just letting me go off into my own little world. And so when he passed, it was kind of like a, hey, I need to do something with this.
Yeah. But so yesterday was actually the 4-year anniversary of my dad's passing. But my precipice moment was my mom's passing, and that's kind of what made me go, I am a witch. I'm just going to say I'm a witch, and I'm going to incorporate it in my business, and I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to make my life reflect that. And it was kind of the moment that my life really started to blossom, because I was like, you know what? Life's too short. I'm just going to be who I am and do what I want to do. And it felt like life kind of just opened up.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way when you started writing?
It felt a little odd at first. I didn't think I was going to do anything with it. I had just had a baby when I started writing again, and she did not sleep ever. So it was very much like overnight on my phone, like going pretty heavily into it. It kind of just kept me entertained for a while. And then I realized how much I'd gotten done of this story and how much I started to really like bond with the characters. And then I was like, you know what? I started talking to a couple of friends and was just telling them about my idea. I was like, just, I'm just just messing around with this. And they were all super supportive. And I was like, all right, then I guess I should do something with this. 5.5 books in.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's other books in this series besides the two?
Yeah. So it was, it was going to be a 7 book series, but the publisher just told me, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago that I need to split the last book. So it'll have to be actually 8 books in the whole series. So it's like, oh, okay, that's so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I told her, I was like, you're not getting another title out of me. I was like, the last book can be part one and part two because the titles were such a pain to figure out.
As a reader, that is so exciting.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I know book 3 is in the works because I
Mhm.
saw I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think I've announced it
Okay.
already online. Just I haven't given much information about it, but I have briefly touched on it. I showed like a teaser for the cover and so it's
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the artwork is beautiful, like,
It's so
it's
good.
exactly how I pictured, like, when you described deer with the fire and the
Yeah,
antlers,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, yeah, I when I saw that, I was like, "That's it." Like, I recognize that, you
I
know?
give her such little guidance too,
Uh,
which is so awesome. She just kind of like takes it and runs with it and just comes back with like the most amazing art. And I'm always floored each time. So she's doing, yeah, she's getting really big really fast. And I love her and I love that for her.
I love that for you too, because even when people find things that they love, they look for other things that they've done. The imagery speaks a lot to the story, I believe. So, like, the way that she does it.
Yeah, and she makes it such like we decided to make it super high contrast, like graphic style. And even if you don't know the story, like the images are super impactful. And I think it just kind of catches attention, which is they're very different than modern fantasy and romantasy covers, which makes me nervous sometimes, but then I love them so much. So I just stick to my guns and rely on them being different.
I think they're different in a standout way, personally.
That's what I hope for, because I mean, a lot of people have actually picked it up because of the cover, and every time I see that comment, I take a screenshot of it and I send it to her, and I was like, "Just so you know, people are still talking about this cover, like, they love it so much," and so I'm actually really excited to see her mock-up of the 4th book cover that she's working on next, so
Even on the street team, we had someone say that, like, that's how they just picture Cal is that artwork.
Oh, right, that's right, yeah,
So,
like, walking around white and gold, yeah.
that would be such an interesting thing to see.
Right. Yeah, that reminds me of that book. What is it, Guild or Guilt or whatnot? The one where she's like totally gold with ribbons. Yeah.
Mhm. I I've read that series. It's actually really good. But the art honestly, when I saw the I hate that I'm somebody who judges a book by the cover sometimes, but when I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, okay." Like all the same, like, Guild and Glint and Gleam and Glow. I was like, uh, I don't know. But then I gave it a chance and it was actually really good. So,
Yeah, I do hear that.
is it okay if I'll ask about your dad and when you started writing? Because sometimes things that are close to our heart.
Oh, sure. I even if it's something like private or something that hurts, I think it's good to share those things because you never know somebody who is also struggling with the same thing or going through the same thing and how much just catching, some stray words can make a difference in someone's life and you don't even know it.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's things that people have said to me that like, for instance, I remember years and years ago, I was, like, showing up at my restaurant job and just, like, really not thrilled to be there, and I saw my friend, and I was like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" And she was like, "I'm great. I love my life." And that just, like for her, it was just, like, a response, but it was, like, such a moment to stop and be like to be able to say that with such certainty and to, like, exude that, it really, like, just stopped me in my tracks because I it had been so long since I heard somebody just so exuberantly positive, and I kinda was in my own little, like, rough patch era that I was like, "Huh, what if I carried myself that way? Hmm." You know? So, you never know what's gonna land for some people. So I have some questions. One of the first things, since we talked a little bit about some precipice moments in life, so many narratives frame healing as moving on or letting go. But with the main character, um, Calithia, or how do you pronounce it?
My narrator, I go by my narrator. I let him just figure it out. It's he pronounces it Calathea, and that's how my brain says it. So I didn't argue. So
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Um, because I know I don't know if I'm saying it right, but Calithea. Perfect. I love that. Um, Calithea feels like she honors her past instead of like just pretending it didn't happen. So, what does honoring trauma mean to you?
I think it's really important to show that because I think, and again, stories are great, and not every story should really, harp on the heavy. But I think this day and age, too often we're seeing the main female characters go through this supposedly traumatic past, or, they're coming from a traumatic past, and they kind of just all of a sudden snap out of it, or like a guy smiles at them and they're just like, they're better. And I don't find that again, it's fantasy, so it doesn't need to be realistic, but I feel like there needs to be a portrayal of like how trauma is really carried. Like, it doesn't, you don't let the people who hurt you define the meaning of you. That's really important. Like, you can have these scars, you can carry these burdens, um, but they don't get to decide who you are. They may not disappear and you may have to carry them forever, but you can make them a part of your strength. And that's what's important about her is like she carries all these things, but she's never like, why me? She's just like, yeah, this happened and I'm still dealing with this. And, you can see it sometimes when she stays set in her ways, that it's actually not a good thing and that it's a weakness for her. And as she grows to, I wouldn't say accept her past because she's never like, oh yeah, this happened to me, great. But as she grows to accept herself and who she is with these scars, that's when she really starts to step into her full potential.
Yeah, because inevitably, who we become, it comes from the perspective that we gain from our experiences, right? So, like, those people don't get to define you. You get to instead take what you learned or things that you acquired through that chapter or through that period and use it to you can use it to propel you forward almost.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes, it's like the damage that they try and do to you becomes a strength for you, like a weapon that you can either choose to let it hurt you or you can choose to wield it. And I think that's really important to show that people can be broken or damaged but still be whole in themselves, because it may not be the original you that you thought, but the you that you've become is so much stronger than the you were.
And you know what's interesting? That I just made this connection and it probably was not on purpose, but that thing about like being broken and coming back together, there's that Japanese art
That's
style.
exactly what it is. 100%. That's where I'm so glad you picked up on that. That's actually where the idea for the cover came from. The cracks like bleeding through. Yes, that Japanese art of repairing pottery with the gold, making something beautiful out of something broken. Yes, 100%. So happy you picked
Oh
up
my
on that.
gosh. Yeah, so that's so powerful. Yeah, I learned about it when I moved and one of my favorite teapots got broken and so I looked it up, but I was like, "Man, this is such a cool metaphor for life too." Like
Yeah.
and going through trauma of like getting to decide how you build yourself back up.
Yeah, I absolutely love that.
I like how you said too that like it either way it's a weapon and you can choose to like let it hurt you or you can choose to like use it and wield it. Cause I sometimes I say different things you go through it puts another tool in your toolbox, but like
Mhm.
you get to decide if it's a tool or a weapon, you know?
Yes, 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 100%. And it's not even, I'm not even so much one of those people who are like, oh, it's just a mindset thing. Like, no, it's work. And that's what I wanted to show. That's why actually, like, the beginning of book one is so important. Like, I know I'm finding that people who haven't experienced trauma find it a little drawn out, but people who have experienced trauma are relating to it so heavily because it is recognizable. Like the hurdles that they have to go through and just the actual thought process and the mental wall breakdown of just going to the point where she can be touched without flinching is huge. That, the time that she, relaxes enough to make a smile, like that's a big deal. And it may not seem a big deal to people who maybe don't know anybody with trauma or have never experienced that kind of trauma, but those moments are hard to earn, and they're hard to earn for the person who's, trying to make that connection with that person. And it's hard for the character or the person individual to let those connections happen. That's a huge step, and I wanted to honor that and show that to people. Again, not everybody's going to get that, but I've had a lot of people reach out and appreciate the way that's shown.
Yeah. I mean, I think I said like, I had messaged the group and I was like 7 chapters in and I'm crying because like I related so much to it, like that even being present enough to be aware to like feel that emotion, right? Like to connect with what's happening in front of you because w- after trauma and that like automatic dissociation, you like sometimes things are happening and you're just like you can't even assign emotion to what's happening in front of you. I'm watching her bloom and without I don't want to give in any spoilers, but the way that you encompass that grief and that the moments of finally feeling safe again too was huge.
It's very important for me to show that, the good moments, like, I want the reader to go through those steps and to feel like those moments are earned just as much as that person would have felt like they are earned. Like, I want you to literally go through and feel it and, like, feel that struggle and feel how hard it is for those connections to be made or for her to open up. So when those moments finally do happen, it's like sunshine. It's just like a breath of fresh air, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, like, what a relief that this person can have this moment," and it's a series, so unfortunately they're not all good moments, but it's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you
gotta
know
have highs and lows, right?
absolutely, and it's a whole series, so there's an awful lot of those, but it's important for me that even through the whole series, those struggles don't stop. It's not like all of a sudden she just gets to a point where like everything that happened to her, she's had a lifetime of trauma. So there's not doesn't ever go away. It just shows its face in different ways, and different ways she has to adjust, and different things she has to learn to handle within herself and outside. So that's a constant theme through the series for sure.
Do you think that in writing Calathea, it was therapeutic in your own journeys?
Yeah, I would say so. A friend of mine actually is reading the book, and she is a therapist, and she goes, "I kind of see like some like pieces of you in there." Which cracked me up because I didn't really think of it that way. But I think my need to portray it in that manner is more like what speaks to me and my own personal things is I just really want because growing up, listen, I read many books, I was a huge reader, and the main characters were maybe plain, but there's never anybody like so like damaged. So like you have all these heroes that you want to be like or you look up to, but nobody ever really felt like me. And I'm not saying I'm like her.
Like dynamic.
Yeah. And at this stage of my life, especially, like I don't age any of my characters. I want them to be relatable to whoever's reading. But I wrote her as a upper 20s, lower 30s kind of character, and it's just a different mindset. And I haven't found a character I could relate to like that. So I did. I wrote one that I could relate to.
I love that. And I don't think it's giving too much away because you kind of find this out very early in the series about that she's the one with the power and her brother Liam does not have, or seemingly, as far as I know, doesn't have powers, and he's watching this stuff happen with her. So, how do you think that Liam's experience of feeling powerless, both physically, watching the trauma happen to his sister, and magically affected how their relationship as siblings formed and how he moves through the world?
Well, as you've noticed, Liam is a very tense character. And as the series goes further on, you get to see not just what happened to Cal, but what was happening to Liam while that was happening as well. He was very much weaponized, just like she was in their childhood, just in a different direction as more of her weakness versus anything else. And so both of them have a childhood of that love, that sibling love being exploited and used against them. So I think for him being raised to be cruel but then not, and then deciding to be her shield instead, really does, I don't want to give away too much, it really does help shape his dynamic. But he is very much that wall against the entire world because that's what he's always been. So anytime somebody or something is getting close, he's an immediate pushback, like a knee-jerk reaction, like absolutely not, like everybody step back, because he knows what she carries on the inside too. So not only is he worried about her as a sibling would, but then he's also worried about losing her to her power. I really wanted people to feel how dangerous she is. Like, she's your main character and, like, you're rooting for her, but at the same point in time, one wrong weight on the scale and she's destroying everything. So I just think that that is always very present in his mind. And without giving away too much, Liam's been through it. Liam definitely has been through it with her for sure.
I think I said he's wound tighter than a snake in a teacup. Like, poor guy. I feel for him too, because when you're carrying the weight of watching someone that you love be hurt, being hurt yourself, and you build up these defenses and these walls where sometimes your reaction isn't always understandable to people watching.
Yes.
Right? Like, because when I'm first reading him, I'm like, God, he needs to just lighten up. And then I like stop and think, like, dang, but he's been through a lot, man. Like,
Yeah. And then in the second book, you really get like a key behind Liam's guilt towards the whole situation as well. Liam carries a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and that need to make sure that she's okay. That is his family. That is his only family. That's all he has in this whole entire world.
I can understand that. So, King Alden, which again, because it's first book stuff, I think it's okay to talk about.
Yeah, I think he's pretty neutral character. Like, he is surprisingly a fan favorite. He started out as just a side character, and the more the series went on, I realized what an anchor that character could be in someone's life that has never had a calm point. And that he is the first person that they do meet that wants nothing from them, like literally nothing. And they just can't fathom that that's something that could be even in existence. Because if you've only ever known cruelty and the first person you come up and is like, no, I'm really nice, you're like, no, you're not. No, absolutely. I don't believe you. And I think it's good to show how patient he is with that and how different he is from what they came from.
Yeah, and it felt like surrogate father energy.
Yeah.
I even was like, "Oh my gosh, is this guy for real?" Or if he's not, then that's gonna really suck. But then, so almost like from the reader's perspective, it's that like, do we trust this? Do we not? And it was just really cool to learn to trust alongside the characters.
Yeah, he ended up, I don't know, just evolving into just like almost like a salve on a wound. Like, he just is this really healing presence. And then the banter that came with him ended up being fun to write as well. He's hilarious.
Love how he enjoys every second of the yearning and anguish of his son, and just the like, "Oh, she's gonna tell you about yourself, the things that I have been wanting you to figure out."
Yeah, and that was brutal, but I liked it. Yeah, I like writing that character that way because he doesn't, like, he meddles a little bit, but he doesn't force anything. He doesn't trick anybody. He's like, okay, I guess if you guys are gonna run around causing chaos, then just don't burn anything down.
How important do you think he was to their healing or their journey?
Hugely important. I think that if it wouldn't have been for him, no one past that point would have ever ever made that space. And he works at their pace. He works very slowly. Like the way he treats Cal is very different than the way that he treats Liam. Um, and with Cal, he is very slow, but he never pities her. He doesn't even, I won't even say he like expresses much sympathy. Like he just is like, yes, this has happened to you. And I'm here to show you that that's not what the world is. And I think that that's good for her because if the way I wrote that character, if somebody would have shown pity, she would have immediately rejected it. So I think that's important that you can relate to people without having to feel like that. Sometimes pity feels icky, you know.
Yeah, I think the last thing anybody who has survived something rough, the last thing they want to feel is like infantilized,
Exactly.
or when people like one of the biggest insults I think somebody can say is like, "Oh, I pity you." You know, it's you don't you want to be recognized.
It feels icky, and then like, I mean, and that's a good thing to explore, like when you write. But from him, I just wanted it to be very open from the start, just as open faced. Well, you know, something we've met good people, but they have never met good people. So I wanted it to be as basic, and because somebody coming from a court of nothing but lies and schemes and backstabbing, you wouldn't try and maneuver or to have fancy conversations with them. You would keep it very simple, you know, something as simple as walking her around the palace grounds, showing her where she could go to let her know like, hey, it's okay to move around here when you're ready. Like I just think the way that that character did that for her really set the stage for her being able to start making connections with others.
And it was cool how he immediately too started making little steps to show that he trusted them, like turning his back on them and walking
I'm
them
so glad you caught that.
places, like
Yeah.
not turning his back in a disrespectful way, but like, hey, I'm going to show that I
And
trust you by looking away from you.
yes, that's exciting that you picked up on that. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Like him turning his back is showing like I trust that you're not going to stab me right in my back right now. So that's cool that you picked up on it.
Yeah, it's almost like, a dog showing their belly.
Yeah, yeah. And like
Yeah.
showing that you trust. And I think that, yeah, the setting the stage that way definitely was why I wrote it that way. And that's why he's the one who leads them there. He's the one who shows them their space just to let them know, like, hey, like it's going to be okay. And then not even pushing them, you know, they decide to go reclusive for so long. And he's just like, hey, when you're ready, we're here. So I think, yeah, I think
I
it's
think in
important.
an alternate universe, he would have made a really great, like, guidance counselor.
Mhm. Yeah. He gets so much sassier in book 2, so, like, I'm excited for you to get to that point because he is hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. It's literally like I have never wanted to sit down and read so much and not been able to. Like, I feel like every time I sit down with my Kindle, like, my dog needs to go outside, or somebody calls me with a fire to put out somewhere else, and I'm like, because usually I mean, last year I read 64 books, and then this year my goal is 75, and I have gotten to a place where I'm like, I just want to disappear into this book.
You're like, "Please stop interrupting me."
Yeah, it's so good. I also Calathea, she doesn't rewrite her story into something prettier, but she rises with it, and I think she kind of, even though she doesn't tell anybody what's happened, you can almost, you can see it in the way that she carries herself. And why do you think that was important for you to portray, like, how she carries that?
Yeah, I really do think it's important because like I said before, is a lot of modern stories just kind of show that healing just happens or like it happens on the fly or from somebody else. And I don't really feel like that's normally the case. So I did want somebody to have to carry something and to carry something as burdensome as what she does carry and still be able to choose to make a difference and choose to fight herself while fighting, you know, for others, I think is a really important trait to explore. And I think it makes for me anyways, I think it makes a deeper character, you know, having that that exterior conflict, but also an interior conflict within herself. Um, and
Hmm.
she, like when you meet her, she's accepted who she is, but then as you get to know her, you realize she hasn't. She really hasn't. She's accepted her past. She's, she knows where she comes from. She knows where she's got to go. But the more you get to know the character, the more you realize that she has not accepted anything. And that's actually becoming a weakness for her, that need to be alone, that pushing everybody away, doing everything herself and whatnot actually ends up, you know, harming her. And I like being able to explore that because I do. I think it's important to show that you can carry things, that you don't have to wall yourself off, but you don't need to rely on others to heal yourself. Like all of these things kind of play in to the theme across the series, is that in the end the power and the autonomy comes from within her, but that isolationist mentality is not the way to go about it.
Yeah, I have noticed that in moments where she gets spooked, that when a big moment happens that kind of like is almost a precipice, like she immediately retreats again for a few days and nobody sees her and she's just in her like almost goes into hermit mode. And then once she feels safe again, she comes back out.
Yeah, it's just like I it's like that recovery period. It's almost like a sensory overload. Like when she feels too much, it's too new. Like imagine never feeling anything good in your entire life, and like any kind of emotion, any kind of positive emotion being punished as severely as what it was punished for them. And again, you see more of that as the series goes on. How scary feeling safe would feel. How scary would it feel to actually feel fondness towards somebody when you don't even know what fondness is? Like, could you imagine like those big feelings that come from connections with people, never having that outside of your brother who's been as tormented as you are? Like feeling those for the first time, you wouldn't just be like, oh, this is great. Like those are like panic attack inducing feelings. Like that's not an easy thing. And I didn't want it to feel easy. I want that struggle to be apparent. Like she fights for every single inch she takes in her life. And then as you get to know the other main characters, they do the same. They fight for every inch they get from her and then they don't back down. As soon as they claim that ground, they stand in it. And they're like, nope, sorry, man, we went over this and now we're here. And now this is how we're going to argue about it and deal with it. And I think, like I said, I just think that's, it feels relatable to me, and I know it's relatable to others because they have told me that. And I think that's an important female character that needs to be explored a little bit more. That dynamic.
Yeah. That even if you're the strongest person in the room, you can have moments of feeling that tenderness or that need for safety, or that doesn't negate the fact that you also need like validation of safety, even if you could like kill everybody. Technically, like she's got the power or you could outwit or outsmart everybody, but you still can have soft spots.
It's okay to still have weaknesses. You don't have to be a stronghold where every brick is perfect and there's no cracks in the wall. And yeah, she can in the world, she can save the world, and she's going to do it with all the flaws and all the scars that she carries. I just think that's really important for relatability for some people to be able to see that.
Yeah. And speaking of all the people in her story, there are lots of handsome suitors in her story. Did you always know how her love life would play out, or did the characters that surround her and the men also evolve with the story?
It's it's crazy. I actually had planned this story before it morphed into an 8-book series. I actually had this idea of doing like a plan your own romance novel kind of thing where the first book would be the same, but then there would be 3 alternate endings and you would choose the suitor that you related to most and you would read their ending and that would be how you would relate to the person. And that was that was my original idea. And I mean I have that cooking in the works much later on after I'm done with this series. I'll still probably pursue that. But man, as I started writing these characters, I just loved them so much. I'm like, I don't like I don't know. I didn't even know. I was like, I don't know. I don't know who I want her to end up with. I like this person for this person for this reason. And I didn't want them all to be perfect either because the male characters shouldn't be perfect themselves. They all have stuff that they need to work through, and they work through it as they go through the series because none of them are perfect either. And I think that fallibility needs to be shown. But yeah, no, I had no plans, zero plans on who she was going to end up with. Totally different idea, but yeah, the main characters are the four male main characters are definitely what spun it into a series versus the original strange idea I had.
I mean, I think your original idea is really cool. It would really be neat is like if it was like novellas sets. So like it starts with a novella, all these options, and then it branches into like three different sequels almost,
Yeah,
depending
and that
on
was
where you want to go with it.
definitely
Um
the original idea until I started writing the first book and started rewriting it, like actually like writing past the outline and the jotted notes and whatnot. And very quickly, the first book was over 1,000 pages, and I was like, "Holy crap! Like I can't." And I wasn't even where I needed to be. I wasn't even I was already at 1,000 pages, and I wasn't even done with the first book. And I was like, "Holy crap! I really need to." I ended up having to split it into two books. That's actually the Fallen Queen and Embers of Rebellion was one storyline in the very beginning, and I realized that this was not the story for that idea. That this story was much deeper, much more complicated. The plot just expanded so fast, and it was like lightning in my brain, like just all these I have ADHD really bad, but all of these things just started branching off and I could like see this giant board of just like where the story was going. I was like, oh, this is an epic. This isn't like a fun read like I imagined the choose your own story would have been.
with the different characters that I've met along the way, it's hard because there are qualities in each of them where it's like, oh, he would be good for her because of this, and he'd be good for her because of this, and then now he would be good for her over here. But like none of them yet have sold me on which one, like, because I feel like there needs to be more context, and that's how real relationships and real like life kind of shakes out. Is like you meet somebody and you think, oh, this could be good, and then you're like, maybe that's not so good, and then you meet somebody else, and
And then book two shakes it all up. Everybody has their
yeah,
favorites at the end of book one. And then book one ends and you're really excited to start book two.
yeah,
And then you
yeah,
get into it and it literally just takes everything and it just like kind of shakes it up and just like throws it out and like, okay, cool. Now we can start here instead. And it definitely just skews viewpoints on some of the characters and like really shows you the growth that needs to happen. Relationship wise, like
yeah.
people to
I'm
people, it gets
interested to
messy.
see. Yeah, I'm interested to see because some of the other arc readers mentioning a couple characters that are on their shit list, and I'm like, oh, oh, what does he do? I can't wait to I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it does change. But as it changes, you kind of get it and you kind of understand just the differences between the different characters and why they are at where they're at mentality wise and maturity wise. You know, there's definitely a big difference between how people are raised and how that outlook changes and how they react and interact with Cal.
I think it further illustrates that your who you are is shaped by your perspective and what you've experienced.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for a lot of on my podcast is really like tools and just reflection on this messy life of being human. Um, and so if there was someone listening who feels like their past is too heavy to move forward, what would you want them to hear?
Like I say this a lot is that your past is a part of you, but it doesn't define you. I really like to say, and again, it happens a lot through the series that it's a constant thing. Like you're not ruined, like you're not tainted, you're not ruined, you're not broken. Like that's not a thing. Like those things that happen to you, those people who tried to do things to you, they don't get to stain you. That's not a thing that happened to you. That's not who you are. You have to carry it. Unfortunately, we all have to carry something, but it doesn't define you. You know, you carry it as you choose to carry it. Again, like we talked about, a weapon, to hurt yourself or to fight back or protect others. And I think it's an important message to get out there.
Yeah, it's deciding what trajectory your trauma is gonna put you on, right?
Mhm.
I talk about it a bit in the my first full length episode was on post traumatic growth, and it's that sometimes in the midst of healing from the things that have happened to us, we get to learn and grow in ways that we never would have anticipated before. And it's not that we have to be thankful for our trauma or be grateful that something bad happened to us, because like
Yeah,
should
nobody.
have to like nobody should have to like martyr their trauma in that way, but it is something to be proud of when you can just stop and look at where you've come from, where you've been, and notice the lotus flowers that have grown through your own shit, right?
Absolutely. I think sometimes we get so lost in the day to day, like we just put our heads down and we're just like, get through this day, get through this day, get through this day, that a lot of people don't stop to look back and see like how all those days added up. Like you actually have come way farther than you think you have, and you're stronger than you think you are. And again, just like that Japanese pottery, there's something beautiful in being broken, and it sucks having to go through that, but man, does it change how you view the world, and you can use that to help others. And I think that's why I like writing characters like this, is so that people can feel that power and that strength. Like, I mean, again, yeah, it's a story and it's fun and it's all fake and stuff, but a lot of those quotes I put in there for a reason, because I know it spoke to me, and I think it will, even if it spoke to one person and just hit that one person just that right way, man, that just means the world. Hearing that kind of stuff, like, hey, I really related to that, or hey, that really helped me out. Like, I don't know, there's no better feeling than that. It's hard to explain. It's happened like a couple of times and
Yeah.
I cried every time. I was like,
Art,
oh
I
my
mean,
God.
it's art, and art is revolution in itself, and art is what makes like life, it reflects life, and it reflects the feelings that we have as humans. And I think that art is a significant way people heal in whichever one they consume. But as a reader, I mean, there's plenty of things that I've read that I felt like really healed something in me, and some of these books. But on your website, I even screenshotted that quote, "You are a force, not a ruin. You are dangerous. You are chaos wrapped in silk and blood, and you are not broken." But thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I'm so
Thanks
honored.
for having me. This was really cool.
I'm a fan, and I cannot wait to see your series grow and take off and watch more and more people fall in love with Calathea and Liam and all of the other characters that they will get to meet
Thank
along the
you
way.
so much.
As per usual, at the end of each episode, I try to give some journal prompts or reflection points for you to just think about for yourself. If you imagined your life as a story, what chapter would you say your quote unquote turning point began? And what healing has unfolded since then? What traits or armor did you develop as self-protection? And do they still serve you? Or are you ready to transform them into something softer or freer? Who are the mentors, allies, or characters of light that have helped you through your shadows? What have they taught you about your resilience? And how does your relationship with your power evolve when you think about yourself both as the author and the hero or heroine of your own story? Because you are writing your story, you get to decide. And with that, if you'd like to continue to connect with me, you can find me at Hex and Hair on all my socials. My website is hexandhair.com, and I put out an episode here every week on whichever streaming platform that my voice is coming to you from. If you'd like to find more of the author, J.D. Marcella, you can find her on Instagram at j.d.marcella. You can find more about her series on her website, queenoflightandshadows.com. And if you'd like to read this wonderful epic series that I have been obsessed with, you can get The Fallen Queen and Embers of Rebellion at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Ingram Spark. I highly recommend. Please let me know if you read them, because I'd love to chit chat and gossip about it with you. So thank you so much. I'm proud of you for being here and sitting with me and reflecting on these subjects. Please be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and I can't wait to see you again on the crossroads. Bye.